up with a brief save on the coach, and then we'll take questions for the players. We're then going to dismiss them, and we'll follow with questions for coach. So, Coach, whenever you're ready.
All right, thanks, Toby. Well, first off, thank you all for being here. There's a lot of folks in here. Good to see you. Obviously, we're disappointed that we didn't win that game. Don't think we deserved to win the game the way it was played. I think Maryville did a great job executing and fighting and being tough the entire game. Obviously for us, you pick up a stat sheet, it's pretty easy to see that 3 for 30. We're not going to win a lot of games going 3 for 30 from the three-point line. I thought we shot a lot of quick threes that were not in rhythm, that we've got to be better there. I thought in the fourth quarter where we did put up a bunch of points, that was our best offensive production because we were playing downhill. We were getting the ball to the paint. We were making a point to get it to the paint, not just settling. And I think there was a huge noticeable difference there. But obviously for us, big concern will be the defensive end. And we just couldn't get enough stops when we had to get stops, whether that was giving up open threes, giving up a loose ball or offensive board or a drive. So a lot to be learned. Our players are, they're pleasers. They want to do things right. They want to correct things, but I think the biggest challenge for our players is I can't give them a to-do list for corrections always. They've got to come out and have find some grit, find some mental fortitude, and I think that will be the biggest growth for this basketball team moving forward.
Questions for players?
Jordana and Grace and Kellie just touched on a lot of things there, but from your vantage point, what were the roots of why tonight happened the way it did?
Yeah, I think, our coaches do, just from this game, did a good job of preparing us to go out there. And, I think we need to be a little bit better just on our scout and making sure we are scout-oriented on the floor. And, they're asking us to do things that we've been working on in practice, so just making sure we're going out there and executing and being prepared in those areas.
Yeah, I'd say it's just the execution. The coaches put a good scout on. We knew what to do. It was just, we ultimately ended up not doing what the scout was, but, it's something for practice that we'll get better on.
Grace, for you as obviously one of the returners on the team, what's your kind of message, obviously facing adversity before the season starts, what's your message to this locker room after this one?
Yeah, I think, the message for the team after this is that we can bounce back. Maryville came out and they played well, and so just being able to learn from this opportunity and there's going to be adversity. It's a long season, so knowing it's the first game and we get to learn a lot from it, I think is a plus, but just means even more we got to just lock in during practice and grow from this opportunity and learn from it.
What do you think the advantages are to kind of seeing it now before you get into the regular season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a huge advantage, and just being able, I'm sure we're going to watch a lot of film. We're going to dive into that, and just being able, to have it happen early is a plus. So we get to now, have a couple more practices before our first official game, and just really get focused on, what we can take from this game and carry it over to official season.
For both Jordana and Grace, you play 37 and 40 minutes respectively. What's it like? How are the lungs feeling after the first official game? You go 37 and 40.
In practice, we're prepared for it. We go up and down. We play fast in practice, so in games, we're ready for it.
Yeah, I think JD, hit it on the head. We really work on our conditioning in practice. It's always, a little different getting to the game, but being able, to get up and down a little bit always, feels good to just refreshing the fact that it's a real game, getting back to in-game shape, happens over time, but I think our coaches have done a good job of helping us get there quicker this year.
Grace, when Coach talks about the three-point shooting being too quick and not in rhythm, just what was your perspective on some of the looks you had from range?
Yeah, I had, quite a few looks from three, and I wasn't able to hit on some of them, but I also think Coach Harper touched on it, just making sure, me personally, but as the team, we're, just not be quick but not in a hurry. Take a good look, but if your feet aren't under you, then we can swing it and get into lots of other options. Coach Harper also talked, we had quite a few good looks once we finally got to the rim in the second half. So, being able to look at all of our options earlier, I think would have been good for us.
Grace, you played positionless today, 1 through 5 you were guarding. Is that going to be a tall tale for you all year?
Yeah, I think, in practice we've been working on it, and I think, I'm just ready to do what the team needs. If that means, I got to bring the ball up or got to play the 5, I'm ready, and the coaches have done a good job with helping me prepare for that position.
Any more for the players? All right, we're gonna let them go. And we'll
Thank you.
questions for Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any questions for Coach?
Coach, you already touched on the three-point shooting, but the ball went 13 of 23 on layups too. You all are getting downhill effectively, but what were some of the issues popping up at the rim?
Yeah, I think, just a lot of that is focus. I think we had a few drives in the first half where we were playing off one foot, we weren't playing tough. We talked about getting to 2 feet, being a little tougher there in the paint. And honestly, some missed shots. I mean, we had several elbow jumpers that we didn't make, so those count as twos. For us, we've got to be able to get to the paint a little bit more downhill, free, and open. I tell you, it was tough in the fourth quarter because they started packing it in because they knew that's where we were going. They knew we weren't going to be shooting a lot of threes in that fourth quarter. So they made it a little bit tougher, but obviously we had no problem scoring in that fourth quarter.
Coach, when you look at the defensive end, what was the issue there? Was it systematic or individual or?
We had a lot of mistakes. Just lack of communication, I think, several times. Our zones aren't quite there yet. Oh my goodness, we saw so many mistakes in our zones. And, as a coach, when you're sitting over there and you don't know which defense is going to be your best defense, that's a bad position to be in. So I think getting some true live reps will help with our zones, but we've got to be better in all of our defenses. There's no doubt about it. And it was not just one person. I mean, it was multiple people, and a lot of them is just, it's what we try to talk about is do your job. In every instance, you have a job to do. In that possession, in that moment, in that action, you have a job to do. And many times tonight, we just didn't do our job.
Coach, just from your vantage point, from what you've seen over the off-season, what you saw tonight, is this team ready for the rigors of the season?
That's a great question. I think we're about to find out. I think that I'm challenging our players' competitiveness right now. They're a team that a group of players that love them dearly. I do. I love them dearly, and they want it to be packaged easy for them to do. They want to check off the box. They want to have a to-do list. Hey, this is that's not how this game is played, right? You go out on the basketball court and you got to we talk about you got to draw a line in the sand sometimes, and I think that is where they've got to be okay with that. It's not a to-do list. It is a go out there and you just have to figure it out sometimes, and there's not an easy way to do that sometimes, and that's where I think our growth will be, and that's handling the rigors of the season for sure.
Just just as a quick follow-up, how easily correctable is that? The process?
That's not easy to correct. I say correct. I don't know if correct is the right answer. I don't think that's easy to develop. Hopefully tonight helps things be a little more clear, and I'm being very direct with them about where I want them. But I told them, I said, hey, it starts with for each player in practice, whoever you're lined up against, you're trying to beat the dog out of them. Whether that's the other team, your teammate, our practice guys, whoever it is. If it's yourself, right? If it's something you're trying to beat yourself in, I think that's where it starts. It's got to be that competitive in every situation.
Coach, 3 players score 65 of your points, which means only 19 from the other 7. What's the key to kind of unlocking that depth scoring? Yeah,
I think part of that, I do think that the shooting percentages are low, but our minutes were a little bit lower with some of those other players. I think we'll have to we've got to do a better job there of growing those minutes. Players have to give us the confidence that we need in practice, but I think especially if I'd like to maybe have subbed a little bit more in the third quarter. Hindsight's 20/20. But I think for us, that's where we've got to have players step up and make plays and earn that right. I don't need to just do it just to be doing it. I need them to earn that right. And, you may earn it by getting a deflection. Maybe just make an easy pass, not getting yourself in trouble. There's a lot of ways they can do that, and I still believe they'll be able to. We've got to get more production out of more players for sure.
Coach, back to schematics, 1-3-1, 2-3 zones, what you guys were going in all day today. For the defensive schemes for the rest of the year, how consistent are you going to be with one zone to multiple different zone schemes you're throwing at defense?
Yeah, I think for us, I think we need to play multiple defenses. I think that is going to be where I think our ceiling will be I think for us to be the best we can be, we need to play several defenses. However, they're not good enough to play them all right now. I mean, we've got to get better, and we got to get better quickly with them. That's why you do these. That's why you have an exhibition game, right? To go out and to see exactly where you're at. I think, being able to see your substitution patterns and rotations and where you want to make some changes, I think that's really important as well because, we practice it. We try to simulate game, but nothing simulates uniforms and lights and officials and an opponent like an exhibition game will.
What did you like that Jordana was able to give you guys down low tonight?
She's been pretty consistent in practice. I think if you pulled up her stats from practice, she's shooting a ridiculously high percentage. We knew we wanted to get her the basketball. They clamped down on her there in the fourth quarter. I still wish she'd have got a few more shots up, to be honest with you. And I thought there were some times that we needed to go back to her multiple possessions in a row, and we didn't. So I'm proud of her. We've got to do a better job of being able to execute the actions that we were trying to get her the basketball in.
Coach, I apologize for not knowing your track record here, but have you had an exhibition game go like this before in your career?
You know what? Yes, I have. My last year at Missouri State, to be exact, we played a D2 team, and we lost. And would you believe that our team ended up going to the Sweet 16 that year? So, I think it's never fun. I don't want to draw it up this way. That's not fun at all. But I will tell you, it'll grab their attention better than anything else. There's no doubt about that. They don't want to lose. So, hopefully it'll make our message our message now is in bold type instead of just me saying it, right? They can see it very clearly now.
We'll take one or two more if you guys have.
Coach Jordana really got going at the beginning of the third quarter. From your perspective, what was kind of some of the main things your team was doing offensively to get her on the score sheet as active as she was?
Yeah, I think we were better getting her the basketball after some rhythm. I think after some ball reversals, I think that gave her some easier opportunities. When we were trying to go quick action to her, that's when we saw the defense collapsing a little bit more, and she was having a harder time getting her shot off. Now, that's where it was a catch-22. Sometimes we would run all those actions and we wouldn't get her the ball. So we've got to be able to be disciplined in that moment and know where we need to get the basketball when we do have those ball reversals.
Looking at assist-to-turnover ratio, Maryville was +8. You guys were -10. What can you attribute that to, and how are you guys looking to improve on that?
Yeah, the turnovers, it's too high for us. I think 18 for us is extremely high. It needs to be several lower than that. If we shoot the ball better than 3 for 30, then our assists go up tremendously, and you're probably looking at a 1-1 ratio, at least your assist-to-turnover ratio. On the defensive end, we're not going to be a team that's going to force a ton of turnovers. I don't see that being our best defensive strategy. I think for us, positioning and forcing tough twos is going to be a better strategy. But I am very concerned about our turnovers. We can't have that.
All right, thank you guys.
Hey, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah.
Real soon.